A light that remembered its crimes braided itself into the smoke of my lantern. It came unlike the others, not a scatter of uncertain sparks, but a coil of light that wound itself into the cold air and held its form as if memory had learned posture. There was a heatless heat in it, a hunger that smelled of worn leather and ledger ink, and when it spoke, it did so with a voice of accusation. It told me who it had been with the awful clarity of a ledger left open. A magistrate who catalogued despair like coin. A betrayer of hearths who took joy in other people's endings. Its memories were weapons and trophies both, polished by repetition until they cut cleanly even through fog. It offered me bargains like a hawk offering a rat. More light, an easy path out. I have heard barter before. The forest is full of souls with debts they think can be paid with the lives of others. So I did what I always do. I made room for confession. I set a fresh jar between us and lit only the lantern's ember, enough to cast a pool of gold rather than a flood. When you name what you have done, you change how it sits in the world. You make it accountable to a listener who is not the same as the wronged. And that act itself can be balm. I spoke to the demon soul slowly, without derision and without naive forgiveness. "Sit," I said, and I listened. It tried to weaponize shame into a bribe, and every old pattern rose up in it like smoke. Promises of power in exchange for release, offers to carry my burdens if only I would let it feed again. I answered each offer with a question, because questions are the mirrors that show the form of a soul without inflating it. "What would you do with light?" I asked. "Will you keep it or spend it? Will you make a lantern for others, or a lamp for yourself that burns their rooms dark?" It faltered at that, because the pattern of theft depends on obscuring the cost. And when a thief sees the ledger, sometimes they cannot help but read the numbers. It confessed to the small cruelties it had kept like moths in a drawer, and the things it had called necessity, evictions made with ink, hearths silenced for the sake of order, names crossed out with a kind of glee. Each confession unraveled a ribbon of soundless suffering, and each ribbon I wrapped gently around a new acorn and closed with a breath. Not as punishment, but to hold the thing steady so it might be unlearned. The test was not whether I could make it vanish with my lantern. That would have been too simple and a kind of theft in itself. Mercy in this forest is not erasure. Mercy is a beginning that insists on the truth of harm and the work of remembrance. So I did not bargain back with power. I offered a scaffold instead. Tasks small enough to teach what power looks like when it is shared. Mend a glass. Each night, clean a jar. Each dawn, speak aloud a name you sought to blot out. Do these things until your hands remember care over command. The demon soul returned night after night to the same coil of confession and small labor. And each time it came, the coil loosened a fraction. Mercy did not decorate it with absolution. It left scars and slow learning. There were nights when the old habits prowled like wolves, and the soul offered me sharp, quick ways to end my heaviness. Burn the jars. Take all the light. Run. I had known that temptation. Sometimes it would return quieter, almost shamed by its own noise. I would place a jar on the sill and let a single firefly move inside it like a small, lurking confession. I taught it how to bend the light so it could read a book without making the pages bleed, how to wrap warmth without burning, and how to let go with hands that do not clutch. Some nights it listened. Other nights it paced the rim of its coil, restless as a storm. but the coil never tightened again the way it had at first. I learned that forgiveness is not a gift handed over once like a key. It is a daily choice, sometimes made by the one offended, and sometimes by the keeper of the light. I am the keeper, and my stewardship has never been about denying harm, but about directing the light, so harm may be seen and steadied until it stops being used. The demon soul will return now and then, years from now perhaps, and it will be quieter still, a patient voice asking to be taught how to be useful rather than feared. If there is a moral here, I will not give it as a sermon, but as a truth I discovered with the slow patience of night. Holding others' pain to keep their stories is a vanity that steals life. Holding space for confession and small, steady repair is the work that returns us to one another. Let mercy be labor rather than spectacle. Let release be earned in the daily forming of care. And remember that forgiveness does not erase harm, but teaches hands how not to repeat it.